They want to understand why people say all problems arise in the thought, in our mind, and all problem resolution freedom is going beyond the mind, going beyond the thought. Okay. My experience I was describing was the influence of J. Krishnamurti. When I came to this country, I came at that thoughtful, always thinking about things, deeper thinking, philosophy, and all that, right? But then that did not really release my mind. With Krishnamurti, he talked about intelligence that is beyond thought for our psychological, emotional, mental, and all that. Okay? So he talked about thought when applied internal matters is limited, whereas thought is used for external things, the scientific things that's actually needed. In the regular life, you want to go somewhere, you want to know what is what, where is what, where is the place, how to go, what kind of means I want to use. All those things come into real consideration, right? So, for practical matters, for the outward things, thought is okay. But when you really go inward, you don't want to be thinking all the time, and also you don't want to accumulating thought. That means you want to be in awareness. That means you want to be the present moment awareness where you have experienced something, but you kind of really put the thought completely off so that you have really forgotten what you have done, and then you go to the next moment. Like a player, so for example, somebody is playing very well cricket, for example, and if he's going on thinking about things rather than facing the ball that is coming in, he would not be able to do a good job with the ball that is coming in, right? It's as simple as that. All the ball players, all the performance people, everybody know the more you are really free of the burden of this accumulated knowledge, the better it is for you. Because you're in the present, you can do what you want to do, right? So that's where you have to understand the role of thought where it is good, and the role of thought where it is really burdensome. Especially in the modern age, now we have this information overload, too much thinking on too many things, right? Um, that's one thing I think I'm very happy and really grateful that I'm blessed with that present moment awareness all the time, not just sometimes, right? Once you understand, once you really stay there, and then you need some practicing of meditation for a while, then you will discover you don't need the meditation as long as you control that projected thought. Then you will be in the meditative awareness, and you will come into when you want to think about it. So that's my status now. So I'm very happy about it. When I want to be consciously thinking, I do. When I don't, I have the silence of the mind. And anybody can do it once you are steadfastly there, and you can. And then sages like Ramana Maharshi said, one's attention has always to be poised on one's inner self, right? You got to be on the inner self. Then this processing thought will not be there, but you still can be intelligent. You still can be very much with what you want to do and all that, right? So I think that's a blessing of the ancients that they kind of they kind of showed us that, okay, we can be that, So when I understood that, it was really a blessing, right? So people are always underestimate the ability of this ancient wisdom, which teaches us to turn inward to understand the internal mechanisms, and then live in bliss, live in blessedness when you are in that self, bigger self they talked about. So that's what I wanted to bring here. So you have learned everything without even thinking by hurting, and then you went into thoughtfulness, then you are beyond the thought, and then you are in perception because you are not accumulating anything from the previous one, right? So that's what I wanted to talk about. And a lot of people may find this very weird, but if you really understand self inquiry, that means you want to know what's going on within me. How do I find out the intricacies of all the inner process of a human being? You finally end up that intelligence, that perception that you were capable of. And once you live with that, you will be really happy that you have done that, right? So that's what I wanted to talk about, and wrote that article also. It's more detailed in that. But Alka, you have any questions? You can come up and ask me if anything is missing or you don't understand anything like that. But otherwise, let me describe each state of my life when this from memory, pure memory, memorization, by heart, we used to call it in India. That means they give a lesson. So you read all the letters, all the words, everything, even though they don't make sense to you, you remember word by word. Actually, in the ancient times, they taught like that. They taught people not by writing and reading, but by repeating something, right? Actually, the language is learned like that too. You know, so Vedas, for example, there are the ancient sacred texts of Hindus. They were not written down in the beginning. They were handed down from generation to generation by uttering, by speaking, right? So people learned them like that. And then they wanted to understand, they wanted to really make sense, and then they did that. That is when they really employed the thought. Actually, thought in a meaning, Krishnamurti was saying, the meaning was something outside. So thinking is not considered as inside our faculty, but it's actually our inner self is separate from the thought and the body, and body and thought are considered as external to you, right? That makes a lot more sense in psychosomatic medicine. And it's a big deal because it is made up of three qualities of tamas, rajas, and sattva. Those are the qualities that they described as the energies within the body. And all this is according to the nature. So there is a philosophy called Sankhya philosophy, in which they say our real self is the consciousness, that is the Purusha, whereas all the nature, whatever comes out of it, is Prakriti. And the Prakriti, you have got all these three natures that we have. So suppose you have more of Vata nature. You don't have pure one quality anyway, combination of things will be there. Suppose Vata is dominant in you and you have Tamas and Sattva rather less, then you will be a frenetic person, thinking all the time, running around, doing stuff and all that. Some of us do have that, a little bit, right? And then some people have, that rajas quality, which is the frenetic quality going around, that is there, okay? So you are a thinking person, you are thinking, overthinking and all that. Then you kind of understand, I don't want to think all the time. This is a burden. Whenever I want something to be doing something, then I want to stay on that and think about it. And afterwards, I want to have freedom, peace, quietness, solitude of mind, serene. All these descriptions are there. So people try to get that state of silence by meditation, mindfulness, japa, that is counting, or prayer. There are many number of means, right? Um, but especially in the modern age, this has become a need because people are really overloaded with a lot of stuff coming at them, right? And they don't know, they get involved and then they let mind go. But then, how to have that mind under your conscious control and how to have mind otherwise not working. But now, what is happening is people have no control over the thought, the mind, and it goes wherever it wants to go. That's where they really are really bothered by it, and that's when they look for measures like you know, I can sit down, I can meditate, I can calm. But then they go to the life. Again, so many things come at them. The mind goes whatever. It's like a monkey mind, right? They call it. Monkey is basically jumping from one to other and without any purpose, and also imitates, right? And the people are bothered by it. I don't want to think about all these things when I go and enjoy with my kids. I don't want to think about all these things. But then these days, because of the phone, because of the devices, because of the internet, 24 hours TV, we have a lot of stuff coming at us. And we don't like that feeling of constantly engaged, constantly chatter, we call it, sound in the mind, continuous chatter. Many people experience that and they may put it aside and go. The danger is it can form its own network. And then those networks that are formed, for example, you are thinking negatively about somebody, right? And then you are thinking about it because they insulted you, they did something. And then that kind of gets buried in your head. And then they call it samskara in Sanskrit. In English, we call it ingrained thought. That means the thought forms a loop, continuously coming cyclical thought. And the more it comes again and again and again, which happens with the habit of the thought, because people don't know actively how to get away from it, they reinforce that neurological path with which. So the moment you remember about that person, or see the person, or read about the person, whatever that comes in mind, immediately all your old, um, thoughts about him, all they come and they get fortified. That is the samskara. That is, they call it subconscious, but actually there is no subconscious except this whole thing is you are either conscious or not, right? So if you are conscious, that means you are deliberately attending to what is happening in your mind, and then really overcome that and intentionally do something that is what you want to do, right? Once you are that kind of phase, then that cyclical thoughts route will be broken. See, that is what you are supposed to achieve during meditation. So there is a description of stages of meditation I taught people about. Somebody comes and says, I cannot keep my mind one place, it goes all over, right? Then we say, okay, it's going all over. So the first task you want to do is get them together to one place, then concentration. Then focus on that, and then try to be only few thoughts at a time, or eventually only one thought. If you can stay on one thought or one image or one sentence, one poem, whatever, one thing, don't allow anything else come, then you have come have three-fourths of it. Then let go even that one thought and get absorbed in the silence behind the thought. So I told very quickly, but basically get all the thoughts together and then watch them, slow them, and then stay with one thought and go beyond the thought. This is a big process. People take years and years for each thought to process. But uh, if you understand this, if you really live it for a while, then it becomes so much easier to do it really, not just describe it, but actually do it. The real breakthrough comes when you say, okay, who is this having the thoughts? What is it in me that is having the thoughts? Is that really me or not? So that is the self inquiry. Atma Chintan, they call it, right? What you do is, whenever a thought comes, don't go carry away with it, but just say, where did this thought come from? From which part of me that comes from? Is it my real nature, which is silent usually, or my thought belt conditioning, or we build up a personality or ego, whatever we think we are not really that, right? And once you understand that, then you say, okay, let me observe, let it go. And then it passes on. It don't have that much hold on you if you can watch it. So watching the thoughts itself is a big deal. First start that, and then you can concentrate, and then you sitting down, you are having a lot of these are called vasanas. What happens is all these buried thoughts, ingrained thoughts, deep within you, memories, projections, or whatever, they come up. When they come up, you just let them come up and go away is one way. Most of the people don't do it because the moment one thought comes, immediately they go to the next thought that is in the network with that thought, right? That is why older people can recall all the old things, but they can't record yesterday or today what happened. So we see that very much with the old people, right? And they cannot break those earlier thoughts. They keep on coming. So in when you say down for meditation, when you concentrate, when you focus, when you watch the thoughts, when you say one thought and go beyond that, before all that, these buried thoughts come up. They are called vasanas. So there is actually three-step process for being a self-realizer man. It's like gnana, atma gnan, that is tattva gnan. You have to understand the real knowledge and of this. And once you have the knowledge, vasanakshaya, that means you have to get rid of all those buried treasures within you as thoughts and all that, right? And then you also have to have what's called mononasha, the mechanism, the mind that is producing all these thoughts, you have to destroy that. So when you have the Manu Nasha, then there's no projected thought, there is nothing coming up. Whenever you want to do something, you can use a thought and put it aside. I granted this is too simplistic, too big a deal. When it comes to practical application, you may understand it, but to realize and do it is a big deal. Okay? That's what Vivekananda said. Many understand, but few realize is very right. Okay, so it needs a lot of practice more than the understanding. Understanding is simple, but realizing it, applying it in our life, it takes years probably, and also it depends upon what your quality of practice and all that. Okay, but when it comes to our subject, we can classify into: am I instinctual? Do I have my animal instincts take over me? Do I behave like that? I don't have any control over them. They just come, for example, anger, and for example, hatred. For example, I want to really have a violent streak where I want to go and kill somebody. That kind of instinctual. Uh, People can see that. Some people don't have to have much to get really angry, to really shout at you and all that, right? That they don't think about it. It's an instinct. Majority of the people are instinctual, right? And then people who are into thought understand what is right, what is not right, what should we do, all those things, right? Those discussions are there. They are called vishay. That means they kind of just be in the world, deal with the things that they come their way, and then they're happy, right? And then there is the other variety where they say, I'm not just a instinctual person. I'm not just satisfied with this thought that is bothering me all the time, having this again and again in my mind. So I want to seek who I am really. I'm not just this body that kind of going to go away after a while. I'm not just this thought that I come and go. So I am that, having the thoughts and having the body. So I'm the owner who is having thoughts as a tool, and mind, all the mind thoughts. And then body is also my physical tool to, to be a temple to my inner self, right? So once you understand that, then you let go the hold of the thought on you, and then you will be in the bliss of yourself. Because yourself is silent. Yourself is the happiness. Yourself is the blissfulness. Okay. Sat Chit Anand, they said. Sat is your existence, like who you are and all that. And Chit is that awareness, and that's the same thing. Anand, that itself is the bliss, right? Sat Chit Anand. Once you are landed in that and you stay there, then this thought would prop up, won't have, because all these vasanas are gone, all this mano is gone, right? So nothing to pop up. But whatever stimuli come, you practice pratyahara. That means you let the senses withdraw from the stimuli. So the stimuli also won't bother you. So anyway, there's a steadiness in the body that's important, all that you have to practice too. So this is the fourth thing. Are you instinctual, which is called pamara? Are you kind of thoughtful and all the vishay? You deal with the world and all that. Or are you sadhaka? That means you are actually perceptive person beyond the thought, and you are looking for answers, but who you are inside of yourself with the self inquiry. And then when you really establish in that real self of yours without any shake or any movement of the thought, then you are called Siddha. Very, very few people are there, Siddhas, but the rest of them are like a seeking to that. By the way, I remember now, I developed a course for this. It's a very big course. It took me a lot of time, but I only show it to people who are really, really interested in that. Otherwise, they will. It's a waste of time of theirs and mine too. But if they're interested, I will show them to do that. That is a something you want to do something like that to cement that understanding, to be in that self. That's the best way I thought. That's why I did it. It's not for sale or anything. It's something a very serious affair, and also it has to be understood only certain people, right? They have to be beyond this pamara, vishayi, sadhaka, and really that, right? So those are the things I wanted to bring about. Let's come to the modern man, how we are. Um, if you look at the normal society, people can go to road rage and really get into a lot of arguments and everything because they belong to certain country. All those, they're all instinctual, animal instinctual. That is take on. Even though think they have got a degree, they have everything. The way they fight with their wife, or they treat other people, or in the institution, their juniors, whatever. This animal side, instinctual side, is all we all have. It can be picked up, right? From that, people, little bit of cultured family, little bit of standards family, they will be thoughtful and really nice to deal with you, or not to really show that kind of impulsiveness, right? So they are okay, thoughtful people. And then uh, really understanding thought can be controlled. Thought doesn't have to be dominating us. That is where this is needed for us in this era that we are in. Okay. Granted, if you are not interested in self inquiry and go and find yourself, that's the first stage, right? If you are not there, just understand this information overload, this too much engagement of the cognitive part, and all of that is the problem. We have, suppose you have a negative thought, and you go deeper and deeper into the negativity because you are reinforcing it by thinking, like I told you about samskaras forming, you form them, then you become to depression. That is happening now. Okay. And people may see the Instagram and they say, I'm not as thin as this girl, I look ugly with, I'm fat and all that. And the young girls are getting affected by the depression so much, many are committing suicide. That's actually a fact. As a physician, we see that. And then suppose you are worried about something and you allow it to go, 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 and you're getting anxious. That is common in many people. Okay, so they want to be appreciated, they want to be liked, they want to receive the good comments and all that. So that means they will produce all these happy hormones, dopamine, we call dopamine drive and all that. If it is really reinforced, they get into anxiety into the future, right? And also a lot of people have these false beliefs, false ideas, and not truths, but then conditioned by the family, by the society, by whatever they are living in society, all that, right? And then they think they are thoughts rather than they are having thoughts. Okay, you are having thoughts, not thought is having you. That's a clear distinction. If you can see that, you are half the battle, right? You have been, you are out of the influence of thought on you. So you are having thoughts and you can control that. Then you can deal with this information overload, brain fog, all that. Because you don't allow the thought to go on itself. You can work on it. You only think when you want to. That's a conscious thought I teach all the time, right? So don't think unless it is needed. Don't think unless it's important. And after you thought, after you understood that, after you did it, let it go. So you see a tree, you enjoy it, that's it. Don't get the image and going on thinking about it and all that. So that's a big deal, right? And then finally, completely free of this thinking mechanism and landing up that silent, serene self awareness. Then that is a blessing. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense for people. If it is too much, hi Lois, John, Mary, Cosmic, Thai Danchini. Okay. So this is a big deal for the civilized man to be completely serene while with himself and be able to use our intellect very effectively, but not be a victim of the intellect after it is done. So either way, you got to realize who you are and stay there. Okay, and that itself is the blessing. That itself is the real. You should be grateful for that because if, the grace of the divine is there when you can land up in that space. Uh, then you can see everybody else has that, the divine self. Then you know we are all one, and that's a beautiful feeling. I think. I not I think I know what it is. Anybody can know that. Anybody can see that by themselves. You don't have to be a special qualified for it. Only thing is dump the burden that you are accumulating in the form of thought. Then you are already there. This they called Mala Vikshepa Avarana. These three qualities are from Sanskrit. Mala means dirt. We all accumulate this desire and essentially everything else. They are the dirt of the mind. And then Vikshepa means our mind goes all over. So bring the mind together in focused mind. A mind that is purified and focused can turn and see avarana means like a wheel. The ego, the personality is covering over a real self. You can only realize that when your mind is pure and focused, then you can see the veil of ego on covering your real self, and that is taken off. Okay, so taking the dirt away is by doing unselfish work, that is karma yoga, they call it. Having the focus is by being loving divine, that's called bhakti yoga, or doing Patanjali yoga, where you try to focus your mind, and by meditation and all that, so unselfish work, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, or raja yoga, or the focus of the mind. When you have that, purified mind and focused mind, then you can see who you are by taking away the cover of ego. Ego transcendence. When you transcend your ego, you can see what you are. You already are. You are not manufacturing this. What you are is covered by your ego, and then once you understand the ego mechanism and all that, The moment you realize that you have ego, the ego is gone, transcended, right? So that's I think those three words are important to remember: mala vikshepa avarana. Okay. So I think anybody has anything to come and say before I conclude the room. There are six people, I think, on the wisdom. Anybody wants to come up, I'll give you a chance. Otherwise, we will finish the room. Okay, you have any questions? Okay, either you understood everything or you didn't understand a thing I said. That's okay. It's all right. I just want to say what I wanted to say. I'm happy to say that. And I will see you again tomorrow. Bye bye.